Farmer and a Princess by Crumcake. Sunset. Applejack could feel the beads of sweat leaving her pores and gliding down her face as she went from apple tree to apple tree, bucking the plump red apples they produced into a basket she would plant underneath. As every pony knew, this was her daily routine, but today, however, Applejack was worked up. She was using a new kind of strength, almost as if she was preparing for the greatest fight she would ever encounter. And she was. A fight that was not physical, rather a fight stirring inside of her emotions. Today, she was about to make a confession she never thought she would. As the element of honesty, she knew she couldn't hold back the truth anymore, because it was eating her inside that every day she would have to be near a beautiful mare she hopelessly wanted to be with, and not know if she felt the same way, or if she even acknowledged her. Today, she wanted to change that. Either she will be accepted, or she will be rejected and have to move on. She just had to know, that's all. Making her way up the small hill, Applejack dropped her basket at the top, and used her hoof to wipe her forehead clear as she looked off towards the sun. Of course, she could see the tall castle standing at the edge of Ponyville. She sighed and looked towards the ground, letting her hat slant a bit. Of course, she had to go after the proclaimed Princess of Friendship. With a quick shake of her head, she took a sharp inhale and started trotting away from the orchard and onto the trail of Ponyville. "Coming!" a voice called from inside the castle after Applejack had knocked the large doors. On the other side, quick hoof steps could be heard. As soon as the door opened, she noticed the way the light suddenly hit Twilight's smiling face in a stunning way, making her smile shine. "Oh, hey, Applejack," the purple alicorn greeted. "Howdy, Sugarcube. Can I come in?" "Oh, of course," she gestured inside. Applejack entered with a quiet breath, made her way to the large chair with her cutie mark engraved in it. Her breath hitched as she heard Twilight take a seat in the chair to the right of her, with the pink star-shaped cutie mark above it. What racked her nerves further was the corner of her eye. She could see Twilight smile and look intensely at Applejack, expecting her to say something. After a moment of complete silence, Twilight broke it. "So, why'd you come over here, Applejack?" She snapped out of her thoughts and looked up at her friend. "Ah, right. I was wondering if you maybe could help me with gathering some apples on the farm." Applejack almost choked out, but kept her voice as smooth as she could. "But I understand if you're too busy, and I can leave if you want me to. And why would I be too busy to be around my friend? Don't you know that's so unlike me?" Twilight interrupted, curious why she would say such a thing, but also giggled a small bit. Twilight seemed to almost always find a way to make time for her friends. Applejack had noted before, but still, being a princess can put any pony in the mindset that they're always busy. "Oh, no offense, Twab, but I just figured that you'd be caught up in some fancy schmancy princess business," she answered. "Even if that were so, I still would put aside time for you." Applejack, hearing that last statement, made her flush a bit, and she attempted to hide it. Of course, she knew Twilight probably said that to all her friends. She had no problem with that. But when said to someone in private, it makes you feel special. "And besides, I've been a princess for quite a while now. Surely by now you know I'm not working 24/7. I often get bored," Twilight chuckled. "I know. It just feels different. I'm used to the wings and all, but it's like I know the pony underneath it all, but this royalty seems to overshadow who they really are. And to be honest, it makes you feel unworthy talking to them. And Applejack started to rant, but stopped herself before she could. She looked away from her friend and folded her ears down. If Twilight showed a face of confusion, it was only for a second, as her face turned to a sympathetic smile. "One moment," she spoke. She used her horn to teleport out of the room. A few seconds later, she reappeared with 2 saddlebags on her sides. "We can go apple bucking if you want. I have time." Applejack slightly smiled, trying to forget the conversation they just had. Alrighty then. And so they made their way to the orchard. Twilight's bucking was not exactly the strongest. In fact, she only bucked down 3 apples the 10 minutes they've been there. Put a little more backbone into it, Applejack called over between thrusts of her rear legs against the near apple tree, the apples falling and landing into a basket next to her. I'm trying, Twilight breathed. Applejack stopped and chuckled slightly again, wiping the sweat off her forehead and mane. Are you sure I can't use my apple picking spell? Twilight whined. This made her chuckle even more. Now I told you before that casting spells ain't no work, Twi. You're never gonna be strong if you use spells for all your chores, Applejack retorted, but with a playful smile and a tone of voice. Ugh, Twilight popped down. If I can't use a spell, I might as well look for a page on apple bucking trees. There has to be a logical algorithm to this. A way to pass this apple bucking with an A+. She pulled an old book out of one of her bags and flipped rapidly with her magic, levitating the book in front of her, as she laid at the base of the apple tree she was trying to buck. Applejack made her way towards her. As Twilight finally landed on the page, Applejack didn't hear what she said. No, in fact, all of her senses seemed to fail her except her sight. As she took in the way the setting sun's light cast onto the mirror in front of her, and it really highlighted her eyes in a beautiful way, making them sparkle. The way the colors of the sky complemented her darker toned mane from her position, Applejack couldn't help but keep looking. Applejack? Her voice once again became audible, startling her and making her heart jump. What? Huh? Applejack snapped out of her thoughts and realized Twilight must have caught her staring. What? She blushed bright in embarrassment and attempted once again to hide her face from the mirror in front of her under her mane. She knew she couldn't become invisible, unfortunately. If you're really interested in my book that much, you could come closer, or at least sit down, Twilight offered, scooting over, making room to Applejack to sit next to her. Oh, right, yes. Thanks. Applejack sat down and curled up near Twilight, just enough to see the page of the book. Feeling the heat radiating off of her, there was not really anything that concerned Applejack inside of the book, but she wanted to share this moment with her friend as much as possible. Friend. Applejack inhaled inaudibly and sighed. Twilight, Applejack said finally, in a quieter and smoother tone than she thought it would have come out. She could feel herself getting nervous by the second as she knew. This was it. Time to confess for what she'd been hiding for over a year to the purple Yalicorn, who was now sitting beside her, with the light of the evening hitting both of them and painting the sky for them. And hearing the light rustling of the leaves overhead, what better moment could there be? Twilight hummed, flipping over into another page and glazing over it with her eyes. Can you put the book down for a second, please? Twilight was hesitant for a moment, as she seemed to be really enticed in whatever page she was on, before shutting the book and placing it back in one of her saddlebags before turning her head back to Applejack. There you go, AJ. You seem eager to tell me something, and I don't want to rush you, but it's easy to tell something is making you feel down. Just so you know, you can trust me with anything you need to say. And Twilight was quickly cut off. I know, but that's the thing. You're just so caring and reliable, and I can trust you with anything. I admire ponies like that. That's why I... She began choking on her words. Maybe this confession was too fast, but she knew it had to be one way or another. Applejack also noticed that she kind of outbursted and quieted her tone. After a moment of hesitation, Twilight gestured for her to move on, but with a concerned and sympathetic smile, awaiting to know what she was saying. I really like you, Twilight, she stated, and could feel an extra sweat forming slowly. And I wasn't going to tell you, but the way that I always need to be near you, I always think about you. But I know how you feel, and it makes me really stressed, so I have to, huh? Applejack was cut off by hearing a light giggle from the alicorn beside her. She turned her head to face her, but her face quickly lit up in surprise as a pair of lips met hers, bringing the unsuspected mare in for a deep kiss. Applejack slowly closed her eyes and obliged after a moment. Twilight's kiss was soft but highly passionate, like she had been waiting for 1,000 years for this moment. Applejack guessed she waited that long too, and now it's finally happening. After a few seconds, their lips parted, and Applejack smiled, but looked at the mare with a slight shock. Twilight breathed. I felt the same way for so long. I figured that you, being an esteemed farm pony, that you would never like a mare of royalty, of high class, even though I don't consider myself that. It's so relieving to know you feel this way too. Twilight, I, I didn't know. It's okay. All that's important is that we're here together. Let's enjoy it. Twilight expanded one wing and wrapped it over her newfound lover, pushing her closer into her warmth, and they started looking off into the setting sun. Cough, cough. Oh my goodness. You know how, like, the struggle, like, I have, like, oh, my throat is not, like, agreeing with me, but that was Farmer and the Princess by Creme Cake. At least I think that's how you, like, creme de la creme. Like, kind of like that creme cake. This is the only chapter. There won't be any more. Sorry for my, like, note, like, long hiatus before I made that, like, one video that I made before, like, 2 days ago. I was really not feeling it, and I don't know, I just didn't really want to make any videos, but I motivated myself to. I didn't even make videos for my main channel, and we hit 30 subscribers there, so that's pretty cool. But, yeah, so I guess I'm gonna leave now, but, because I still gotta edit this, but I'm Electronic Harmony, and I guess I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.